was a baby ballerina in Argentina and danced all over Europe with Josephine Baker. But when she saw a performance of West Side Story in Paris, she packed her dance bag all alone and headed for New York. Welcome to Women in Theater. I'm Linda Weiner, theater critic and arts columnist of Newsday. And our guest is Graciela Daniele, who apprenticed with Broadway's greatest director choreographers and became a trailblazer of her own innovative dance dramas.
Thank you.
Is it true, really, that you really didn't know English when you got here?
I know.
Or is that part of the lore? I like lore.
Oh, no.
I could repeat the lore.
I spoke perfect English. I just worked very hard at the accent. No. I spoke several languages. Of course, being born in Argentina, my main language, first language is Spanish. Then I went to Europe, living mostly in Paris, so French was my second language. And then I came here just to study, because, you know, I fell in love with West Side Story so much that I thought, I have to go there. And just I had enough money for like 3 months of studying. And here I am 40 years later, never left.
And so when you came here, you went and studied at...
Took classes.
You took classes at ballet theater.
I took classes with Perry Slavic at ballet theater because I wanted to maintain my ballet technique. That was primarily I was a ballet dancer. But I also took a class with Matt Maddox, who was a dancer, choreographer, great teacher, disciple of Jack Cole, who practically invented the jazz technique. And I took classes with Martha Graham. So I went and I took classes, acting classes with Stella Adler. I just wanted to know how you put together something as glorious as West Side Story. And I was terribly lucky, as I've been all my life. And I was working on Broadway within 3 months or something like that.
That was what makes Sammy run?
Yes, yes.
And you were the Latin Spitfire?
And I was the Latin Spitfire.
Oh, I apologize for my country. So you knew, though, coming in then, that it was musical theater you wanted to work on.
I wanted to do West Side Story. If that was musical theater, I wanted, not necessarily West Side Story. I thought, you see, having not really seen any musicals, because I went from, you know, Argentina, South American tours to Europe, I didn't know what a musical theater was, except for movies. And when I saw West Side Story, I thought that all musicals were like West Side Story.
Don't we wish?
I've been waiting for 40. There are not many. No.
Now, Robbins was your idol.
Yes.
And then I know for years you never met him. Did you ever meet him?
I did. And we were actually, he came to see a piece of mine that I did off-Broadway, invited by Chita Rivera, who's, you know, my friend. And he sent me a love letter. And I was so moved that I have it framed on my desk. This is the most important award that I've ever got in my life. Then years later, and I sent him back another, you know, dear Mr. Robbins, I love you so much, etc. You know. Years later, I was in a dinner, like a board dinner at Lincoln Center, and I sat across Mr. Robbins. And he was so charming, socially. I understand that the working relationships were not that good, but socially he was just a delight. And he smiled all through it. And finally I got my courage to go and say, hello, Mr. Robbins, I'm Miss Daniele. And everything that came out of my mouth was, It was horrible. I just couldn't even talk. I was in awe I still am in awe of that man.
Now, this is a person who got her start with Joe Papp, practically.
Yes.
You were the assistant of Michael Bennett. You were Bob Fosse's dance captain on Chicago. What did you play in Chicago, by the way?
Haniak, the Hungarian.
Oh, you were the...
Not guilty.
The original Not Guilty girl.
Not Guilty. I got hung every single show. Yes.
And you were his dance captain, and here you've been working with all those people, and Jerome Robbins just...
There is such a thing, I think, as having a hero. I think we all need a hero. And my take on that is that perhaps it's better not to really meet the hero and love him from far away, because the stories I heard were horrifying. And yet, here I am. He died, and he still is my hero. And so it's good. It's love at a distance, you know.
Yeah. You once said it was the most important non-relationship you ever had.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
So, how did Pap find you? How did you find Joe Papp?
Well, I had already done a few shows, I believe, on Broadway or off-Broadway. I can't remember exactly.
And this was you were dancing. You were dancing in shows.
No, I was choreographing already. Okay. Yes, I had already choreographed. And Wilford Leach, who was the artistic director of the Public Theater in that time, artistic director. He had seen some of my work and came home to ask me if I would like to choreograph Gilbert and Sullivan, Pirates of Penzance. And I started laughing. I said, "Are you crazy? An Argentinian choreographing Gilbert and Sullivan?"
And he said, "Are you crazy? It's going to have Linda Ronstadt and Kevin Kline in it."
Exactly. And the most important thing is that he gave me some demos from the orchestrator, Bill Elliott, who really captured the style, this kind of American Monty Python kind of approach to it. And that's how I started working at the Public Theater, and that's how I met Joe Papp, who is another one of my heroes. You know.
You pick good heroes.
Yes. Oh, they pick me. I don't know.
And so you were basically then teaching non-dancers how to dance.
Well, you know, Linda, I think that actors do dance too. I think that the words dance, they immediately get nervous because they think that it's all about steps. And usually the kind of choreography I like doing, even with dancers, is more about character development and storytelling. And therefore, I accommodate to what the actors develop physically. To me, that is a dance. You know, it's just, I don't know, it's just like, I guess I'm from the old school. It's when you walk, you're dancing, you have a rhythm. Your heartbeat is rhythm, and, you know, and when you eat, when you fight, when you make love, it's all dance, and it's just putting it to music. That's all. So I allow the actors to relax and allow them to improvise, and then I edit or suggest. I work more as a director when I choreograph with actors, but it's the same with dancers. I use the same system. Yeah.
Now, especially this. I'm glad you brought it up about choreography and directing, because basically, most of our great musical directors were first choreographers, and then in the '70s, when Bennett and Fosse and Tommy Tune were taking over the stage, and they took over the directing also, so that they would be able to control the entire vision.
Yes.
And it seems to me that you were the first woman to do that. After that,
I was.
Yeah, well.
Didn't Agnes
Agnes DeMille was essentially a choreographer.
But she directed something.
Maybe some of them. But,
Allegro, I think it was.
Yeah, but it's not like.
It's not constantly.
No, we don't speak about Agnes DeMille's shows.
True.
We don't, as we do Graciela Daniele's shows, and and as we do now Susan Stroman shows, Twyla Tharp shows.
Yes.
Many of the work that you did on Broadway and off-Broadway were really dance dramas. We're really telling stories through the dance. Do you think now that Broadway is a little bit more receptive to that? I mean, I look back and I think about Contact by Susan Stroman and Twyla Tharp's Moving Out, and that in fact, in ways, they did sort of grow out of some of your perhaps underappreciated dance dramas that you were doing in the 80s, Dangerous Games or Chronicle of Death Foretold, which I had mixed feelings about. But that really you were doing these dance dramas, that you were telling stories in dance.
But you know, I wasn't the first. I think that Martha Clark was.
Okay. Martha.
You know, I'm great admirer of Martha, and she inspired me a lot by seeing her work.
Martha Clark, who was with the dance company Polobolus,
and then went off on her own. Went on her
yeah.
own, you know, still doing extraordinary work. She's a true artist, I think. So
let's go from this dancer person this, you know, bright dancer person who comes to New York and is learning everything that she can learn. Did you, when you directed the revival of Annie Get Your Gun, one of the most American, no business like show business musicals there's ever been, did you look back and say, look at this? Did it mean anything to you that it's one thing for you to be doing work based on the tango and work based on your roots and things, but for a big Broadway musical like that, did you think that anybody had any reservations with you? Because I loved it. You know, I loved Annie Get Your Gun.
I'm glad.
Oh, no, I did. That was your most traditional, wasn't it? Big commercial.
Directing, yes,
as a director.
Yes, as a director it was. No, I don't think I ever thought about it. I tell you, Lena, you know, I wish I was a little more, I use reason more in what I do, but sometimes I feel like, you know, somebody knocks on my door and I open and say, hey, Grazie, you want to come out and play? And I go, okay, if I'm going to learn something from it, you know. And I adore Bernadette. I just adore her.
Peters.
Oh, God,
yes.
I adore her. And just knowing that she was going to be involved in that. And, of course, that score. And I had lots of reservations about the book.
The original book or the
original? The original,
yes.
the original. But then when we got together, you know, with Peter and just
Peter Stone,
and we really kind of crossed all the.
Which I thought was really an improvement. I know that some people thought
so, especially for our times.
Yeah,
you know.
there's just some things that wouldn't have gone.
No.
So I thought that, and it was really that play with that in a play concept.
Yes,
I just thought I thought it was very successful.
Thank you.
Mostly you do new work.
That's mostly what I like doing is new work. I am not somebody who I appreciate revivals, you know, but I'm old. I've seen them and done them already, you know what I mean? So I'm interested in today's creators. I'm interested in today and tomorrow.
Well, you've done work with two of my favorite composers, which was William Finn and Michael John LaChiusa.
Yes.
And both of them, you did not do the William Finn's falsettos.
The original one.
No, you didn't do the original, and then you didn't do the time when they put it. You had done it out of town. Someone was going to bring it in. It got mushed up.
I did it for the first time. I put them together, falsettos and falsetto land, but I did it in Hartford.
You did in Hartford, but then it was actually revived by James Lapine,
who was the original director and creator. So I thought that was absolutely just. You know, they had wanted to do that for a long time, and nobody gave them the chance to do it. So I was very, very happy that they did, and won the Tonys.
But you directed Bill Finn's A New Brain, which again is, I think, a really important, really enjoyable, really wonderful musical at Lincoln Center that I think didn't get really the attention that it should have. LaChiusa, Hello Again.
My favorite too.
I believe that this is a musical that got wonderful reviews.
Yes.
But slipped through the cracks. Do you know that this, I didn't review it. I went towards the end of the run. I had heard it was wonderful. I was just collapsed into my seat from how wonderful it was, and was shocked that it didn't transfer or have a life somewhere in it. So it's really high on my list of things that if I could blink my eyes and just see it now, Hello Again would be one of those shows.
You know, it's being done all over the world, actually.
But not in New York.
Well, but there's a big world out there inside New York.
I'm lazy. Come on. I can bring it to me. Do you miss dancing then? I mean, I know when Twyla Tharp stopped dancing, when Martha Graham stopped dancing and had to put their movement onto other people, that they found it extremely depressing.
Well, I think you're talking about major dancers. Gosh, major choreographers. I'm not that major. You know, as a choreographer, I do well, but I'm not that major. I mean, they dedicated their entire lives
to being concert dance choreographers.
It's a very different thing. It's like when I came here, that life sort of the life of a dancer, and you know, the classical or whatever it is, but just that this is your life. it must be real hard. But I had a very easy bridge because I went into the musical theater. In the musical theater, there are other things that you have to work, especially for me, I had to work in my voice, my English to start with, if I wanted to have one line, and singing and acting and all that. So there was a whole new world. And most of all, when I stopped performing and I started choreographing, first of all, while I was dancing, I started assisting the great ones, like Michael Bennett, Alan Johnson, Bob Fosse, and many others. And a window to a totally new world opened. I mean, the world of creation. And I was totally, fascinated by this power of, of creating something as opposed to performing something. Then I was lucky enough to start choreographing. And the moment that I started choreographing and I stopped dancing, I realized that all my life as a dancer, I had had the mirror in front of me. And I was looking at myself in the mirror all the time and not liking so much what I saw. Because as a dancer, you always, try to correct yourself. You're not loving yourself.
It goes with the creature, right?
Correcting yourself. Then I started choreographing. The glass, the mirror went behind me, and I saw the world. So it was total freedom. And it was a relief, not difficult. Besides, as a choreographer, I still move around. If I didn't move, I would probably be dead because of all the old injuries I have. I wouldn't be able to move, in a wheelchair. So I still have to move and just at least mark and direct with my body and all that. So I'm performing for my actors all the time. So I still am connected to it.
I read there was some question about gender in directors, and if you thought in any way that being a woman director made it harder for you. And you said this really smart thing, which that you didn't think it was so much gender as the commercial theater versus the non-commercial theater.
Yes, I think that's what it is. And it's breaking through now, because with the commercial success of brilliant women like Julie Taymor and Susan Stroman, that has, sort of balanced a little bit now. But I always felt years ago that the commercial theater, it was mostly a men's club. And as a choreographer, there was absolutely no problem because there were many women choreographers.
There are many women dance critics.
Yes.
But to be a Broadway critic, they want to send the men in.
Oh, I never thought about that.
It's very, very
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. But on the other hand, in the non-profit theater and regional theater, I never felt any discrimination whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, I learned my craft by working with marvelous people who gave me the opportunity, like Mark Lamus at Hartford Stage, gave me the opportunity to direct difficult pieces. And so I really never felt that. I think it's a question of economics, but I think it's changing now.
Yeah, I do think so too.
I'm hoping that it will change.
I think so too. Okay. You were married to Jules Fisher.
30 years.
30 years. One of the major lighting designers.
And great man, yes.
Where'd you meet?
We met in one of my first Broadway shows when I was a dancer years and years ago, which he lit. It was called, it was based on East of Eden. It was called Here's Where I Belong, and it didn't.
That was Terrence McNally book? Okay.
Oh, may I tell you a little story about that? An anecdote, which I know Terrence and I always laugh about that. It was Terrence's first musical he was writing. It was Alfred Ury and Robert Wallman first musical that they were doing on Broadway. It was, I think the director was his first musical too, I can't remember. And the choreographer was Hanya Holm, who was a distinguished
modern dancer
and choreographer,
diva icon. Yes,
my lord, with long career. And that was my second Broadway show. And we went out of town, and in Philadelphia, and within a week they got us all together, and they told us that there was one person that was going to be fired. And I thought, oh my God. And they said, Hanya Holm. And I thought, wait a minute. I didn't know too much about show business, but I thought something is wrong in this picture. How can it be that the person who really knows about musicals is you know, it's, it's always...
And it closed in the night or something,
and it's closed,
right?
one performance and
Okay.
closed, you know. But we met there
but
because
you noticed the lighting designer?
Yes. Well, you know, passant, you know, just, it was nothing, you know, I was then married, and, you know, so there was... Then we did Chicago in 1974, 75. Mm-hmm. And that's when, you know, we started, you know, looking at each other and going out of town and having dinners and all that. And since then, we've been doing the same thing.
Was there a Cuban husband?
That was my first husband. No, it wasn't actually Cuban. He was Argentinian. Okay. But he was a singer for the very famous Sonora Matancera in Cuba, which the woman leading voice was Celia Cruz, and Carlos was the male.
And so you were in Cuba during the revolution then?
Yes.
God.
I had quite a life. Interesting life.
This is good stuff. This is very good stuff. So, so you have a townhouse in Chelsea, and then you have a...
Yes, and a house in New Jersey on the border with Pennsylvania, yes. Yeah. And that's my paradise.
Gardening, you said.
Oh, I'm first a gardener and housewife who happens to love the theater, you know. I love gardening, and I feel like, you know, Linda, it has all the art and science, you know, that the theater has, the craft. You sweat and work very hard, just like in the theater.
And it's so ephemeral.
No, but there's something that is always is very curious. I plan and I plan, just like I do with, you know, with a piece in the theater, with the theatrical piece. And then nature comes in and makes it always better, which doesn't happen in the theater. In the theater, I have these visions, and then when I look, I go, ugh. When I look at my gardens, it's always better because nature has its way, you know, of improving on my vision.
But don't they peak and then it's ephemeral and then it's gone?
But that's life.
Well, yeah, it's not my favorite part of it.
The shows do the same thing, my dear.
That's what I mean.
And the other thing about gardening, if I may say so, there are no critics.
Garden critics, God, this is a field. This is. I think we ought to go ruin something else, right? Future plans? Anything in the works?
Well, actually, I have a few shows which we have done readings and workshops for. One specifically that Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty have written, called Desert Rose. For the moment, it's called Desert Rose.
Desert Rose.
Desert Rose, with Donna Murphy and La Chance. That is a marvelous, marvelous piece. And we are planning in producing at the Lincoln Center probably next fall. And there are others, but right now I'm doing mostly readings because I feel like I'm at an age and at a point in my life in which I really want to do what I want to do, as opposed to just work, you know.
That's delicious, isn't it?
Yes, it is the only good thing about getting older.
Woody Allen movies.
Yeah, three of them.
When did that happen?
3 of them. Oh, God.
That was Bullets Over
5,
Broadway?
6, 7 years ago? I don't remember.
You did Bullets, you did Everyone Says I Love You, and
the Mighty Aphrodite.
Mighty Aphrodite.
That was the second
now,
one. Yeah.
if they do Bullets on Broadway, do they talk to you about it, or is
we
that...
talked briefly, except that Woody wants to really, he doesn't want original music. He wants to do, like, already. So there was a talk for a while, but it just, you know, nobody came through. I wanted to do it. I thought it was a magnificent, magnificent piece for Broadway.
Yeah, woodwork on Broadway. I think it would.
Yeah.
You once talked about that producers want the formula.
Not all. I mean,
yes,
I'm talking about mostly the Broadway commercial.
The Broadway commercial want the formula. What's the formula?
Well, the formula is something that is accessible, something that is safe, so that it produces an immediate reaction in the audience because they know it. The formula is you have to stop the show. You see, I wasn't born here. I didn't understand about stopping the show. Stopping the show for me is bad. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So there are those kind of formulas. Now, I'm not saying they are bad. I'm saying that sometimes for certain pieces, they are perhaps necessary, especially if those pieces had been created for that. You know, there's no doubt that, if you sing Can't Get a Man with a Gun, it's a tour de force that was created for somebody who would stop the show, you know. But I don't think that in the new pieces in the theater, in the new musical theater that I love doing, the one that dares a little more, or is, you know, those formulas are really necessary.
Mm-hmm. And you do see it's changing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Happily so.
Happily so.
Yes.
I mean, those mega musicals with the chandeliers,
yes.
and the
yes.
music that sounds like music everybody's heard before. Maybe we've just gotten through them.
Mm-hmm. I think that that's what we do all the time. I mean, we go through stages, you know, we go through times. And when people get, when people say always, oh, the theater is in terrible shape. Well, we are in terrible economic shape, that's for sure. But it's all, you know, it's a time, and then it'll be different again.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I think it's more interesting now than it's been in a long time.
I think so too. I think so too. I just wish there was a lot more money, so that there would be a little more balance for new stuff.
So that then it wouldn't always
especially in the non-profit theater, which has been so badly hit, you know, lately.
Is there a difference between a male director and a female director?
I don't know. I don't think so. Except physical. I don't know. I've worked with extraordinary male directors, you know, as a choreographer, and the real good ones, the ones who showed me the way, were the ones who collaborated well with everybody, who actually sort of gave a certain vision real fast without talking too much, and just stayed back and allowed the children to romp around and create, and then went and edited. And those are the people that I learned from. And
it's irrelevant. It wasn't male or female.
No. I don't know. I have to confess, I have not worked with women directors.
Oh, sure. This is interesting.
So that, you see, that so I don't have anything to compare with, you know, I am unable to compare myself because I don't know what I do.
Anyway, I can't believe that the time is over.
You're kidding. I was having such fun.
We'll go out and have coffee now, right?
Okay.
Thank you so much, Graciela Daniele. And thank you for being here. On behalf of the League of Professional Theater Women, I'm Linda Weiner, and this has been Women in Theater.